Hi, everybody, and welcome to Market Shapers. Today we are in beautiful Fort Worth, Texas, and I am super happy to be joined by Joseph Berkes at Williams Trew. And so, Joseph, welcome.
Hi.
Thanks for sitting down with us.
Anytime.
Oh, good. Anytime. Very good. We'll book the next date right now. Well, I think it's always fun to start on these is to start a little bit about learning about how folks got into real estate. So maybe kind of give us your path into how you got into this crazy gig.
Perfect. Well, my mother was in real estate, and so I knew it. I saw it when I was growing up, and she worked all the time and kind of worked odd hours. She used to bring home the MLS books, and I'd kind of stroll through the MLS books and like say, "Hey, we could live here. This looks like a good deal on this house," and it was always in the back of my mind.
Right.
And so, when I was in high school, she'd have me doing odd jobs for her. When I could get a car, when I had a car, I was delivering signs all the way up until Williams Trew opened, and I would get $20 a sign to go put out signs. And, that was great money, going through college and getting $20 a sign. If I had 5 of them, that was $100.
Yeah. Weekend money, you're ready to go.
I'd still take that job.
Yeah, so you kind of you started really at the ground level then,
I did.
which
I did. I've watched this company. I've been here since the beginning, and I wasn't always an agent. Like I worked at Joe T. Garcia's, in a stint in college, but it was always kind of in the back of my mind to go do real estate.
Right.
It always felt comfortable.
What do you think maybe somebody, because so often real estate becomes a second or third career for people, which is great, but having it kind of be career number one, what kind of advantages have you seen over the years that brought you since you kind of, one, grew up into it and kind of knew this is what you wanted to do and you kind of jumped into it from the beginning as opposed to you were a banker for 10 years and then you decided to get into real estate later on in life?
Well, I think the real gift in that was, when you're young and 19, 20, 21 years old, you don't need that much money.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a good time to get my feet wet, learn what I was doing, and I didn't require much. So
Right.
a lot of the difficulty people getting in second and third careers is they need the instant income like that.
Yeah,
and
they have a lifestyle, they have expenses, kids,
Right.
whatever it might be that they have to maintain.
And I don't think I had those pressures.
Right.
And then, when my kind of sphere of influence and peer group was ready to buy houses, I had already been in the business 5 or 6 years. So, I mean, I knew what I was doing at that point and could really be an asset to them.
And I suspect too, they always talk about like if you pull any, person off the street, they typically know like 5 or 7 real estate
Right.
agents. If you start when you did, that sphere that you talked about when they were getting ready to buy their first houses, they probably knew us realtors at that point too. I mean, out of all that friend circle, you were probably the only one.
They did, and when I got into real estate, I was in Fort Worth. Fort Worth was a much smaller place in 2000, and you kind of, the realtors, I would say the majority of them were older than I was. So there were, when I came into Williams Trew, Corinne Hyman was here, and we were the same age. Ashley Martin was here, but the majority of the agents were older. Not many young people were getting into real estate
Right.
at the time, and not many young males. So that's been interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because if you walk the halls here, that's dramatically changed.
right, absolutely. And I think it's a fun business to get into, and people have noticed that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's caused it. I don't know if it's TV shows. I don't know if it's just our city getting bigger.
Right.
But there's been a definite change in the amount of men that get into selling houses, and then young people are getting into it.
And I think, part of the appeal might be a little bit of the idea of that there is, like, you aren't confined to a cubicle or an office. yes, you have your workspace and you got to be there, but the idea that you're out and about, you're working with people, there's a lot of things that are unique to the real estate business that I would think appeal to millennial generation and then even the generation after that too, probably.
Right. I mean, you're your own boss.
Yeah.
You're not tied down to a desk. And houses are just awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody likes to go look at houses.
Yeah. We've joked before too, like, when you're, at a sporting event or grocery store or whatever, and someone asks or a cocktail party, and someone asks what you do, and you're like, I'm in real estate. Like, no one runs the other direction. Like, if you say,
Right.
I sell life insurance, nice to meet you, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? Like, people are immediately, how's the market? They want to talk about it. They want to know about their own houses. So yeah, it's a natural conversation sparker, if anything.
Right, and the people that get into looking for their own houses, my clients, they're still on Realtor.com every night, even after they buy a house.
Yeah.
It's a very cool industry.
Yeah, it's like a hobby for everybody.
Right.
So when you were starting out, then even to now, like, you talk a little bit about like the lessons and the impressions that you would get from those that you were learning from. Like, what kind of lessons stood out that you kind of took on at an early stage that maybe set you up for the success that you have now?
I think once I figured out that the successful agents, because there is the opportunity to not be tied down to a desk.
Right.
It's
the converse side of it, right? Yeah.
There is the opportunity to sit at home half the day and kind of stroll in. But once I figured out that all the really productive agents in the office or around me were always in the office, mm-hmm. that was a game changer, because to me it's not about it's about the time when you don't have something to do. I'm not talking about like I have to go to the office and make sure this listing gets in the MLS, right? I'm talking about everything else that you do, talking to clients, talking to agents in the office, going through your email, just kind of living and breathing real estate. That's where I would say agents become super agents.
Yeah.
I mean, very productive, because that's, you might have 3 deals that come to you naturally, but there's another 5 in just the stuff that you don't have to be doing, if it makes sense. You know? It's and I think that's where, if you're at the office, then you are trying to find a buyer for a listing that you have that you might not be trying to find if you were sitting at home. Do you have to be doing it at that moment? No. But you do that 5 days a week, and I get in the office at 8:15, and I probably don't get home till 6 or 6:30.
Yeah.
So I think that's where you start turning into being able to, where you start producing the really high numbers is by the extra time that you put in.
Yeah, you sometimes hear, like in a real estate class, like with the new agents, and they're getting advice from others. People say, treat it like a real job. I mean, as if it's not a real job to begin with.
Right.
But I think you're talking about that discipline of being in the office, and because the other thing too is you're around others at that point, and you're naturally absorbing what they're working on and learning from them as well too.
Right.
So I mean, being in that environment, it's interesting, that kind of case study that you've noticed is that if I'm looking to be super successful, why don't I just do what I see other super successful people doing? And in real estate, one of them is regularly being in the office.
Right, and we get a pretty good look at how people live just by the way we, it doesn't matter if we're working with doctors, lawyers, whoever is at the top of their field is working a lot.
Yeah.
Now, I am so lucky because I love real estate. Like, it's not something I don't feel like I'm going to work. It's kind of what I do all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm probably sure it's similar for you.
Sure.
Where you enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, some people golf, they fish, they hunt. Like, real estate is also my hobby, so it doesn't feel like I'm at work all the time.
Yeah. Which I would suspect probably, and you may not notice this, but you probably see this carry over with your clients, is they probably sense that from you. Like, this isn't just a job for you when you're working with them. This is something you truly love doing, which whether you express that or not to them, I'm sure they feel it for sure.
Right, and when you are, I think there are some agents that are built differently. Some agents are good salesmen. Some agents are, hard workers. And I would kind of put myself in, I'm the hard worker. I'm not really the salesman-y type. But where people, when they hire me, where they really get value, I feel like, is that I do kind of live it with them, and I work hard, and I make sure that, it's kind of like working at a Four Seasons. I mean, if they're going to pay us the amount of money they pay us to do a job, I am not going to tell them no very often.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We get paid very well for what we do, and when they call, we need to answer.
Yeah. And I think kind of the lesson there, too, is be genuine to who you are.
Right.
Because if you probably tried to come across as like some hyper salesman, it wouldn't be authentic to you, and then people would catch that vibe. Whereas if someone is naturally good at sales, it doesn't feel like you're being sold. But
right.
I think the point is, be genuine to who you are and play that as your strength.
Yep. And I'm not discounting the good salesman.
Sure.
And I'm not discounting the hard worker. I think there is a place in real estate for everybody.
Yeah. And
you're going to kind of gravitate towards the seller or buyer that kind of identifies with you.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, it really just takes hard work.
Yeah.
And if you don't love it, that's a problem.
It will feel like hard work.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you love it, it's fun.
So when you're doing that, what kind of do you use to motivate yourself, folks on your team, folks in the office? Like, kind of what's your drive that gets you up in the morning to do it? Is it really just because I love what I do and it doesn't feel like work?
It's fun.
Yeah.
It is fun to me. I love. It's kind of funny. I have 3 kids. I have a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 1.5-year-old. So we are very.
There's drive
busy.
right there.
That's right. I'm very driven man. But we are really, we're busy at home.
Yeah.
So I am blessed that I've got a great wife that understands, that I need to be at work, and she knows how I work, and she knows, she knows I have to work hard. But also she knows I love it. So when she's at home with 3 crying kids, I'm like, I've got to work today. She knows I'm having fun.
Yeah. Well, we all need that support structure. Whatever that support structure may look for you individually, you've got to have it in order to make this business work for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love it.
Yeah. So I want to give you a chance to kind of brag on your town of Fort Worth here. What makes selling real estate in Fort Worth kind of unique, and what do you love about it? What makes it a little different maybe from other areas?
I love seeing the growth. I've never lived anywhere other than Fort Worth in my life. So it is fun to watch all the new areas of town kind of taking off and taking shape.
Yeah.
We've got the River District, River East, Edwards Ranch. There are so many cool places that are exploding, and it's fun to watch it grow. At the same time, I do a lot of business where I grew up, so I love, helping the people that I've known forever, buy and sell houses.
Yeah.
So it's Fort Worth is a dynamic, fun place right now, and it's cool to see, especially from this vantage point.
Yeah, being involved with the growth, right? Not just seeing it, but being involved with it.
Yep.
I remember when I started, I told Elizabeth McCoy, our leader here at Williams Trew, that I promised I would get over at least once a quarter, and I found that on average I'm getting over here twice a month. So I found I really like being over here as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's great, and it's awesome to see when you're driving in all the new growth that's happening. So.
It's a fun place.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sitting down with us and sharing some of your expertise and knowledge. I think for those folks that are thinking about getting into real estate, you provide an awesome model for them to follow, to say that, you don't have to wait till a certain point in your life or your career to do it. If it feels right, then jump in and do it. And you've got great people like you to mentor you along the way. So,
well, I'm so glad that you've joined us here, and I can't, you are starting to do things that I'm very excited about seeing. So,
well, I hope this was one of them. This wasn't too coerced of an arm twisting. So
no,
yeah.
it was great, and I hope you come over a lot.
I will, absolutely.
All right.
Joseph, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody, for watching Market Shapers here with Joseph Berkes from Williams Trew, and have a great day.